But first tonight, Chris Bowen. Gee, he really is the biggest bozo in Albanese's cabinet and has no grasp of your energy bills or the pain you're feeling every time you look at your power bill. He was up and about in question time today with unhinged and bizarre answers to serious questions about the energy crisis.
Minister, do you still stand by your government's commitment to cut power bills by $275 by the end of the year?
Well, thanks, Mr Speaker. The honourable member refers to modelling done in 2021, which we gave to the Australian people in 2022.
The question was a very simple, straightforward one. Do you stand by your government's commitment? And that's what the Australian people would like to hear answered.
Speaker, I was asked if we stand by things, and we do stand by our policy to reduce energy prices by introducing the most cheapest form of energy, which is renewable, and rejecting plans to introduce the most expensive form of energy.
Really? I mean, all you have to do is look at your own power bill to tell you everything you need to know about the costs involved in this disastrous renewables rollout. And once again, it's just so convenient for Chris Bowen to pass the buck and blame it all on that 2021 Reputex modelling. You know, that same modelling that led to this over and over again.
Reducing power prices by $275.
Reducing power prices by $275.
By 2025, $275 a year.
$275 a year.
We'll get power prices down by $275 a year.
Yeah, Minister, we're still waiting for an apology. Labor promised to cut your bills by $275 a year. Instead, they went up by around $1,000. So the opposition rightly pushed Bowen again today.
Minister, is the average household electricity bill in Australia today $275 cheaper than May 2022?
Mr Speaker, the average energy bill today is 6.2% cheaper than it was last year. That's a fact, Mr Speaker.
Look, he really thinks we're all stupid, doesn't he? Let me just remind the Minister for Higher Power Bills that our power bills actually went up 10% on July 1. And if you're with Snowy Hydro's Red Energy, an electricity retailer owned by the federal government, it too has jacked up prices across the country by 15% in New South Wales, 3.8% if you're in Victoria, and 5.4% in Queensland. All of this as Labor runs its tricky and dodgy experiment of transmission lines, giant wind turbines, green hydrogen, solar farms and batteries. Even today, it's been reported that construction of new wind farms for the national electricity grid came to a halt in the first half of this year. The situation is so bad, Ross Ganaut, who is a long-time advisor to the Labor government and a backer of renewable energy, said Labor's 82% renewable energy goal by 2030 is unachievable, saying Australia is currently on a trajectory to miss its renewable targets because of low investment and output in grid-scale solar and wind, not by a little, but by a big margin. And look, I don't know about you, but I've lost count of the amount of green energy projects which have either stalled, been scrapped or delayed in the last few months alone, despite the big taxpayer handouts. And Bowen just seems to think it's all one big laugh.
The 22nd of July 2025, the Prime Minister said Australian power bills were being permanently reduced. Why does the Prime Minister say things he knows are untrue?
It's her first term, so she wouldn't have been here when the member for Hume hid an energy price rise before the last election, Mr Speaker. So perhaps that's why the honourable member got the job, because it's a difficult job. I congratulate the opposition too for their temerity on asking about energy matters this week.
He just doesn't get it, does he? And look, his rants didn't end there.
The way to reduce fossil fuel use is to build renewable energy. You can't wish away fossil fuels. You can't have a plan to reduce fossil fuel use in Australia or overseas unless you have a plan to build renewable energy.
Well, he's not wrong, is he? Because you can't wish away fossil fuels. But the problem is that's exactly what he has done. He's wished it away on some sort of magic carpet ride. Our energy rollout is happening back to front. The Australian energy market operator has warned the slow rollout of poles and wire projects will severely limit the amount of power big renewables can produce to replace Australia's soon-to-be-shut coal plants. And not to mention, we need 10,000 kilometres of high-voltage transmission lines by 2050, but the project is so far behind, only half will be delivered in the next decade. The cost will inevitably, as we've been warned, be passed on to us as consumers on top of every other energy increase under Labor. Net zero by 2050 is an even bigger joke than the minister seems to think our energy crisis is. And once reality hits, and perhaps it's actually started to, maybe then will Chris Bowen stop treating our energy future as a laugh. And later on, I'll catch up with a farmer who joined a protest against net zero today in Victoria, and he is not mincing his words.